If you're broke, it's not just your bank account that needs fixing, it's your beliefs. Because every dollar you don't have is a symptom of a mindset you've accepted. They told you to go to school, get a job, save, retire, but they forgot to tell you. The system was never designed to make you wealthy. It was designed to keep you obedient. By the end of this message, you will never think about money the same way again. You'll have the blueprint. But first, let me ask you something. What if you're just one belief away from a financial breakthrough? Riches begin with a definite purpose. Not a vague wish, not a casual desire, but a clear, burning obsession. One so intense that it consumes your thoughts and reshapes your identity. Think about it. How can you hit a target you never set? Most people are broke not because they lack intelligence, but because they drift. They drift from job to job, from idea to idea, from dream to dream. But drifting never made anyone rich. Only definiteness of purpose, combined with unwavering belief, has that power. Let me take you back to A young reporter sat across from Andrew Carnegie, the steel titan of the age. Carnegie asked him one question. What is your definite purpose in life? The reporter didn't have an answer, and Carnegie knew. That's the very reason most men fail. Carnegie believed that a man with a clear, definite purpose could achieve anything, no matter how impossible it seemed. Why? Because when your purpose is definite, your mind begins to work like a magnet. It attracts the people, the ideas, the opportunities that align with your goal. And science backs this up. In psychology, it's called the reticular activating system. It's your brain's internal filter. When you declare a purpose and focus on it daily, your mind starts noticing things it used to ignore. You walk into a room and suddenly see the book, the mentor, the open door that was there all along. But without a purpose, your brain sees noise. With it, your brain sees pathway. Real-world example, look at Oprah Winfrey, born into poverty, abused as a child, and told she'd never make it. But from a young age, she had a definite purpose, to use her voice to uplift others. That purpose became her guiding star, through setbacks, through rejection, through failure. Today, she's not just a billionaire. She's a symbol of what happens when purpose becomes identity. But here's the hard truth most won't tell you. A definite purpose will cost you. It will cost you comfort. It will cost you distractions. It will even cost you people. But what it gives you is worth everything. It gives you direction when you're lost, discipline when you're weak, fire when the world goes cold. And that's where most quit. Right before the purpose becomes power. You want to get rich, you want to break free from paycheck thinking and build something that lasts? Then get quiet. Get clear. Decide exactly what you want and why you must have it. Write it down. Burn it into your mind. Say it out loud every single day until it's more real than your current reality. Because without a definite purpose, you're not building wealth. You're wandering. And no fortune was ever found by a man who didn't first find his reason. You are already in possession of your fortune, if you can see it. Not if you can earn it. Not if you can borrow it. But if you can truly see it. The tragedy of life is not that people aim too high and miss. It's that they aim too low, or never aim at all. Most walk through life blindfolded, begging for crumbs when they're sitting on acres of diamonds buried beneath their feet. Why? Because they haven't trained their minds to see what's already within them. Every invention, every fortune, every masterpiece began in the invisible. The Wright brothers didn't have wings. They had a vision. Thomas Edison didn't see light. He saw it in his mind long before it lit the world. Your fortune, your breakthrough is the same. It already exists, but it exists first in the realm of imagination, and the mind is the only passport to enter. Modern psychology confirms what ancient wisdom has always known. The subconscious mind cannot distinguish between reality and vivid imagination. When you visualize with emotion, your brain begins to rewire itself. Neural pathways shift, perception sharpens, and the impossible becomes probable. But here's the catch. Most people only imagine what they fear. They obsess over debt, over failure, over rejection, and then they wonder why their reality keeps repeating itself. The truth is brutal, but liberating. You become what you rehearse, consciously or unconsciously. Let me tell you about Jim Carrey. Before the fame, before the millions, he was broke and sleeping in a van on Mulholland Drive. But every night he'd drive to the hills overlooking Hollywood, close his eyes and see himself as a successful actor. Not hope? He even wrote himself a $10 million check for acting services rendered and dated it for 5 years in the future. He carried it in his wallet until almost to the day he was paid that exact amount for Dumb and Dumber. That's not magic. That's vision. That's belief before the evidence. When you train your mind to see your fortune before the world can, the world has no choice but to catch up. This is not wishful thinking. It is definite action in the unseen realm, and the unseen always precedes the seen. So the question isn't whether wealth is possible for you. The question is, can you see it before it appears? Can you hold the image long enough, with enough emotion until it becomes your identity? If the answer is yes, then understand this. You're not waiting on money. Money is waiting on you, waiting for your mind to claim it. Because once the vision is clear, the path appears. And once your belief is unshakable, your fortune is inevitable. Your wealth isn't out there. It's in here. See it, feel it, own it. And soon, the world will too. Your environment is either planting wealth or poisoning it. There is no middle ground. Every conversation, every interaction, every room you enter is either feeding your future or starving it. And if you ignore this truth, you may be working twice as hard for half the result. A seed, no matter how full of potential, will not grow in toxic soil. The same applies to you. If you surround yourself with complainers, skeptics, and critics, don't expect prosperity to take root. Because success is not just personal, it's environmental. The subconscious mind is like wet clay. It takes the shape of what surrounds it. If your days are filled with gossip, negativity, and low standards, then that becomes your baseline. And slowly, without realizing it, your vision begins to shrink to fit your surroundings. Have you ever noticed how hard it is to believe in abundance when everyone around you talks scarcity? How hard it is to act boldly when you're surrounded by people who fear failure? That's no accident. That's environmental conditioning at work. Let me remind you of a story, Henry Ford. When he first proposed the idea of building a car that the average man could afford, nearly every expert told him it was impossible. Even his own engineers tried to convince him to abandon the vision. But Ford had learned to guard his environment like a fortress. He didn't argue. He replaced. He surrounded himself with thinkers, believers, builders, and because of that, the Model T was born, and history was changed. Now contrast that with a man who stays in a circle that mocks ambition, who shares his dreams only to be met with laughter, doubt, or silence. That man may be brilliant, he may be gifted, but if he stays there, his potential will decay, not because he lacked ability, but because he tolerated the wrong atmosphere. Modern neuroscience now proves what Hill taught nearly a century ago. Your brain mirrors the behavior of those around you. Mirror neurons fire when you observe others. So if you're constantly observing mediocrity, it becomes your default behavior. But if you surround yourself with excellence, your brain begins to mirror that too. You must ask yourself, who are you becoming by proximity? Because wealth is not only built through habits, it is shaped by who you allow into your emotional space. Every word, every energy, every presence is either reinforcing your belief or eroding it. So protect your circle. Be ruthless about your atmosphere. Audit your inputs like your life depends on it. Because it does. You don't have to hate the people you leave behind, but you do have to love your future enough to choose it. Because when the environment is right, even the smallest seed of ambition can grow into a legacy. Choose the soil that feeds you, and you'll never starve for success again. Procrastination is the silent killer of fortune. Not failure, not rejection, not a lack of talent, but that quiet, seductive whisper that says, you can start tomorrow. And that's how dreams die. Not with a bang, but with a delay. You tell yourself it's not the right time, that you need to learn more, prepare more, wait for clarity. But deep down, you know the truth. Procrastination is fear in disguise. Fear of not being enough. Fear of failing. Fear of succeeding and not knowing who you'll become. Yet every moment you wait, someone else is acting. Someone else is launching. Someone else is claiming the very thing you say you want. Because they moved when it was messy. Not perfect. Let me take you back to the story of Colonel Sanders. At 65 years old, with a recipe and a dream, he faced 1,009 rejections before someone said yes to his fried chicken. Imagine if he'd told himself, maybe I'll start next year. There would be no KFC, no global brand, no legacy. He didn't wait. He acted. Now contrast that with the man who had an idea for an app in a brilliant one. He wrote it down, sketched it out, talked about it with friends, but he never launched. Today, that same idea is worth billions, but someone else owns it. Because while he was waiting, someone else was building. The mind has a way of lying to you. It convinces you that delay is safe, that inaction is harmless. But what it doesn't tell you is that procrastination compounds. Every hour lost is not just an hour delayed. It's momentum lost, opportunity missed, belief weakened. Psychologically, every time you procrastinate, your subconscious registers the delay as evidence that you don't truly believe in the goal. You condition your mind to accept inaction as normal. Over time, your ambition rots from the inside. You say, I'll do it later, but later becomes next week. Next week becomes next year, and next year becomes never. But here's the truth. Action doesn't come after clarity. Clarity comes after action. Confidence doesn't precede doing the work. It's built while you're doing it. Even imperfect steps taken now are worth more than perfect steps never taken. You don't need more time. You need more urgency. So what are you avoiding? The call? The first step? The risk? Understand this. Every fortune you admire was built by someone who was just as scared, just as uncertain, but moved anyway. The wealthy are not faster. They're not luckier. They're just quicker to act. While you're planning, they're producing. While you're doubting, they're deciding. And that's why they own the future. If you want to build wealth in 2025, stop waiting for permission. Stop worshiping the perfect moment. There is no perfect moment. Only now. Procrastination has stolen enough from you. It's time to take it back with action. Specialized knowledge pays. General knowledge costs. The man who knows a little about everything may impress a crowd, but the man who knows everything about one thing commands a fortune. You see, schools are designed to make you well-rounded, but wealth is not built by being well-rounded. It is built by being razor-sharp. You don't get rich from dabbling. You get rich by mastering. Knowledge in itself is not power. That's one of the greatest misconceptions. Knowledge becomes power only when it is organized, specialized, and applied with purpose. The man with a shelf full of books, but no action, is no better than the man who never read at all. Let me show you the difference. The man with general knowledge knows history, literature, philosophy. He can talk for hours, debate anyone, write brilliant essays. But when it comes to solving a real problem in the marketplace, he's broke. Because the market doesn't pay for opinion, it pays for value. Now take the specialist, a woman who mastered one skill, let's say digital marketing. She didn't go to an Ivy League school. She didn't earn a fancy degree, but she studied one thing obsessively. She knew how to drive traffic, convert leads, scale campaigns, and because she solved one specific problem, businesses lined up to pay her more in 1 month than others earn in a year. That is the economy we live in now. The age of precision. Generalists blend in. Specialists break through. Andrew Carnegie knew this. He didn't know how to smelt steel or operate machinery, but he knew how to build a system. So what did he do? He hired men with specialized knowledge in engineering, finance, logistics, then organized them around a burning mission. That's how he became the wealthiest man of his time. Not because he knew everything, but because he knew exactly what to focus on and who to hire for the rest. The psychology behind this is simple. Mastery creates momentum. When you go deep on a subject, you enter a flow state. You become confident, capable, credible. The deeper you go, the more valuable you become. And value, not time, determines wealth. Too many people are stuck in learning loops, consuming everything, executing nothing. That's because general knowledge keeps you busy, while specialized knowledge makes you wealthy. And here's the truth. The world doesn't need more information. It needs transformation. Specialists deliver. So if you want to build wealth in 2020, stop trying to know everything. Pick one skill, one problem, one solution, then go all in. Read every book, take every course, find mentors, test, fail, repeat, until you're not just good, you're unignorable. Because the man with specialized knowledge becomes a magnet for opportunity, for respect, for money. So choose your lane and go so deep into it that the world has no choice but to follow. Money follows value, not time. The world has sold you the illusion that hours equal income, that if you just work longer, grind harder, stack more shifts, the money will come. But time is not the currency of wealth. Value is. If time made you rich, The hardest workers would be billionaires. The man digging ditches in the heat of the sun would retire before the man in a suit. But that's not how the game works, because value is not about sweat. It's about significance. It's about solving problems that matter at a level others cannot. The marketplace is blind to your hours, but it is obsessed with your impact. A janitor can work 12 hours and earn a wage. A software developer can write 10 lines of code in 1 hour and earn 10 times that wage. Not because one is more worthy, but because one provides greater leverage. Let's talk about leverage. Leverage is when your effort gets multiplied. When your knowledge, your skill, your idea reaches many, without needing more of your time. That's how fortunes are built. Take Jeff Bezos. He didn't get rich because he worked 24 hours a day. He got rich because he built a machine, a system of value, that served millions while he slept. The principle was simple. Create something once, and let it serve forever. Now you may not be Bezos. You may be starting small, but the principle still applies. Look at the freelance graphic designer who shifts from doing one-on-one projects to selling templates online. Same skill, same creativity. But now she earns while she sleeps. Why? Because she learned the law. Money doesn't care about your time. It cares about your reach. Psychologically, we've been trained from birth to associate work with struggle, to believe that if something feels easy, it must be worthless. But the truth is, value often flows where you feel most natural. The very thing you take for granted, your eye for design, your way with words, your ability to lead, could be the thing that elevates your life. But only if you stop selling your time and start offering your value. Your goal is not to get paid by the hour. Your goal is to make every hour produce more. That's the wealth mindset. That's how empires are built, not from clocking in, but from creating value that continues long after you've logged out. So ask yourself, what can I build once that serves many? What problem can I solve so well that people line up to pay me? Because the moment you understand this, everything changes. You stop chasing hours, you stop counting minutes, and you start measuring impact. Money is not loyal to time, it is loyal to value. Provide more of it, and money will chase you. That is the path to wealth in 20. Stop selling hours. Start multiplying value. Emotion is the fuel of manifestation, not logic, not strategy, not even hard work, unless it is charged with burning desire. It is not the mind alone that creates, it is the mind on fire. Thought is the blueprint, but emotion is the builder. And without emotion, your vision is just a fantasy. You can write goals, you can create vision boards, you can say the affirmation, but until your heart burns with the belief that it must come to pass, nothing changes. The subconscious mind, where all transformation begins, does not respond to mere words. It responds to feeling. Vivid, emotional repetition is how beliefs are formed, and beliefs are the soil from which all results grow. Science now confirms what Hill taught nearly a century ago. The emotional state you're in when you imagine your future determines how powerfully it imprints into your nervous system. Say, I am wealthy, with doubt in your voice, and your subconscious ignores it. Say it with conviction, with passion, with tears in your eyes and a fire in your gut, and your entire physiology begins to align with that reality. Look at every great achiever. They weren't just thinkers. They were feelers. They didn't just see the goal, they felt it with every fiber of their being. Thomas Edison didn't hope the light bulb would work. He knew it. Every failure only fueled the emotion deeper, because it wasn't just about inventing a product. It was about proving a belief. Let me tell you about a man named Jim Rohn. Before he became a legendary speaker, he was broke, working odd jobs. But he heard something that changed his life. You must stand guard at the door of your mind. He began visualizing success, not casually, but obsessively. He spoke his goals with emotion. He imagined the crowds. He felt the applause before he ever stepped on stage. That emotion pulled him forward. It built momentum. And the man who once couldn't afford a ticket to a seminar became the man filling them. Emotion is energy in motion. It's what moves you when logic says wait. It's what keeps you going when the path is dark. If your goals don't stir your soul, you will quit when it gets hard. But when your dream makes your chest tighten and your hands shake, that's when you know it's real. So ask yourself, do you feel what you're chasing? Does your vision move you to tears? Does it make you angry that you haven't achieved it yet? Does it light you up in a way nothing else does? Because that's the ignition. That's where manifestation begins. Not in your plans, but in your pulse. You will not build wealth with lukewarm desire. You will not change your life with neutral emotion. The universe responds to bold energy, not soft intentions. Feel it first, then act, then receive. Because the moment your emotions align with your vision, your reality has no choice but to catch up. Failure is not the opposite of wealth. It is the gateway. The dividing line between those who rise and those who remain is not talent. It is not timing. It is how they respond when everything goes wrong. You see, failure isn't the end. It's a signal, a test, a gatekeeper to the next level of your growth. It asks a simple question. Do you want this badly enough to get back up? Most people don't. Most people run from failure like it's fire, never realizing that it's the only thing that can forge them into who they must become to handle real success. The truth is this. Every fortune you admire was paid for in losses. Look at Henry Ford. Before he built the empire that revolutionized industry, he failed not once but twice. His first automotive company collapsed. His second one pushed him out. He was ridiculed, laughed at, told he was unfit to run a business, but he refused to surrender to failure. Instead, he studied it. He learned from it, and he built Ford Motor Company, not in spite of failure, but because of it. Failure does not mean you are unworthy. It means you are becoming. It is evidence that you are on the path, that you're moving beyond comfort and into uncharted territory where growth lives. Psychologically, this is crucial, because your brain is wired for safety. It wants to protect you from discomfort, but growth demands that you lean into that discomfort, and failure is its fiercest teacher. Those who avoid failure avoid wealth, because wealth requires risk. It demands that you try and try again, long after the applause has stopped and the doubt begins to scream. There is a man I once coached, who lost his first 3 businesses. His friends laughed. His family begged him to get a real job. But deep down, he knew those failures were refining him. He studied every mistake. He rebuilt with discipline. On his 4th attempt, he launched a company that today earns over $50 million a year. If he had stopped at failure number 3, no one would have blamed him. But the world would have missed his greatness. Failure only has power over you when you believe it defines you. But the wealthy know, it is not the fall that defines your destiny. It's what you do after. Burn this into your mind. Failure is not proof you should quit. It is proof you are stretching. You're growing. You're in motion. And that motion is what separates the dreamers from the doers. So the next time you fail, don't retreat. Don't question your worth. Don't water down your dream. Stand taller. Get sharper. Get wiser. Because every time you rise after a fall, you prove something to yourself. And the universe leans in a little closer. Failure is the gate, but courage is the key. Unlock it. And wealth is on the other side.